But in the total process of things, you've had an opportunity to transition from one thing to another. You always kept going. You always kept doing things. And that's the good thing I hear about you and your life.
Yeah, and when I finally decided to retire, this was in, the company was having a big reorganization, and I'd been in the same job for 14 years, and I was having a hell of a time. And they said, no, nobody stays in a job that long in Exxon. We've got to transfer you down to the Gulf Coast where you do the same kind of a job. And I said, I don't think so. And since the severance package I could get was just as good as if I'd worked to 65, I took it. And so then I had to have something to do. I joined the volunteer fire department in New Jersey where I was living. And this was a bedroom community where all the able-bodied people went to New York or Newark or someplace, and the alarm would go off in the middle of the day, and I was 62 at the time, and I was the youngest one that would show up. And there were guys in their 80s that were hauling 5-inch hose, and because there was no, this was a kind of a ring. Mendham Township was kind of a ring around Mendham Borough. They split the township from the borough when they decided they wanted to put in a water system. And there was no way they were going to pump that water all the way up the hill to where we were living. So I was living on. I sent my wife out to look for a house while I was working, and she found this place, which was 3/4 of a mile down a dirt road, unpaved. The road had been established in 1795, but it hadn't been paved, and we had 5 acres of woods that were so rock-strewn that the farmers who had worked there back in the 1700s decided that this was no place to work, and they moved to Ohio. And so the population on our road was low in 1969 when we moved there. It was lower than it had been in 1795, and there were empty cellar holes all over the place where people had abandoned the place. So you don't need to hear this if you know what. There was an estate across the road from us with 650 acres that George Washington had actually slept in the winter of '81. And 1881, that was 1781. And they started developing that. And they worked their way up the hill toward it. By the way, 2 years after we moved in, they paved the road. And as they started working their way up the hill, they started with 1 acre plots, and then they went up to 3 acres, and then as they got up to us, it was where we were, it was zoned for 5 acres minimum. And so the value of the houses kept going up and up. By the time they got up to where we were, nothing was being built for less than $1 million. And here I had paid $53,500 for this place. So I made a killing on that one when I finally. By that time I had built a house in Florida where we wintered in Florida and summered in Mendham. And so the first thing I did when I got to Florida is become a Florida resident immediately, and then went back and put the house up for sale. And I sold it for 8.5 times what I paid for it. And as a Florida resident, never paid the state of New Jersey a dime.
Good for you.
Good business.
Good
Well,
for
let me
you.
say thank you for the service that you have given to our country.
Yeah.
So many people that I've interviewed, you have a varied background, experiences and so forth from early childhood right up to this current time. So I just simply say thank you so much for your service. Thank you for coming over here to Cox Toyota today. And thank you, Mr. Rusty Cox, for being so kind as to enter it. We thank you.